So I recently saw a tweet, and there's two things. First of all, unfortunately, millions of children lose Medicaid insurance in the process called unwinding. All right. And this is a video from Case Study QB. But also, Medicare for all tops Sanders' agenda again. Prescription to make America healthy again. So first, here's Bernie returning back again. I know, folks, brace yourself. It's not what you think. All right. Independent Democrat, you mean. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has an ambitious New Year's resolution, a 9-point policy proposal to make America healthy again by reforming the United States broken and dysfunctional healthcare system. In an op-ed published by The Guardian on Tuesday, Sanders said his ideas were informed by his time serving as chair of the U.S. Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, which will end in 2025. Stop me if you heard this before. We are the wealthiest nation on earth. There's no rational reason as to why we are not the healthiest nation on earth. We should be leading the world in terms of life expectancy, disease prevention, low infant and maternal mortality, quality of life, and human happiness. Sadly, study after study shows just the opposite. Despite spending almost twice as much per capita on healthcare, we trail most wealthy nations in these areas. Healthcare is a human right, Sanders argued. The function of a rational healthcare system is to guarantee quality healthcare to all, not huge profits for the insurance industry. The United States cannot continue to be the only wealthy nation that does not provide universal healthcare. The other 8 recommendations on Sanders' list are: lower the cost of prescription drugs, paid family and medical leave, reform the food industry, raise the minimum wage to a living wage, lower the work week to 32 hours with no loss of pay, combat the epidemic of loneliness, isolation, and mental illness, address the climate and environmental crisis, and create a high-quality public education system. All this sounds good, but it's a fart in the wind, especially when stuff like this happens. And this is a tweet from Case Study QB. Before we do it, I want to read this, all right? Shout out to Case Study QB. This came out on the first day of the new year, 2025. Guess who's still president? During the 4 years, Joe Biden could have done something, but he chose not to. That's your good friend, Bernie. Remember, that's your good pal, Bernie. NBC News. Millions of children lose Medicaid insurance in a process called unwinding. Personal note, this is from Case Study QB himself. Shout out to him. Please follow him on all of his social media. I have 2 children with autism. My job just changed health insurance companies. We used to have 2 ABA therapists come to the house 3 times a week. We lost that benefit, so this happens on both the private and public side. Case Study QB has been an invaluable resource to the entire independent media community. He takes time out of his day to get clips from corporate media. Somehow he sits through it, and you know what? He's a stronger man than me. And he's a family man too, and he's a good friend. I think everyone in independent media, first of all, massive salute. If you're not following Case Study, please do so. Hey, Bernie, let's hear about all this Medicaid insurance that's being unwinded. You know, you got kids losing that. Oh, AOC, the squad, where you at? Never forget that AOC, that Joe Biden was said that he's exceeding expectations.
Back now with more of our reporting on the Medicaid shakeup that's led to millions of children losing health insurance. For many, it can take months to fix. Jesse Kirsch has more on the devastating impact on families.
3-year-old Jabril Kassir has autism, communication issues, and sensory processing disorder.
I love playing.
For his mother, Desiree Wines, taking care of him is a full-time job. And it got a lot more complicated in January when Jabril, whose family lives in the Denver area, abruptly lost his health insurance under the Medicaid program, which also meant losing access to therapy.
What was that time like?
Why would you ask media? What was that time like? Yeah, it must have been a real nightmare situation.
Confusing. It was very sudden. They didn't warn me in any way, shape, or form.
As the COVID public health emergency was ending, the federal government began requiring states to reevaluate every Medicaid recipient's eligibility. Over 25 million people lost coverage in the process, known as unwinding.
Can I check a few things today?
But many who lost their health benefits, like Jabril, actually still qualified for Medicaid. A government letter said his renewal information wasn't received, but when Wines tried getting Jabril's coverage back, it appears his case may have been caught in a backlog of people trying to do the same thing. Wines says after about 5 months, Jabril's coverage was finally restored, but the consequences lasted much longer. Wines says Jabril needs a special bed like this one to stop him from wandering at night.
Put your head up here.
But when we visited in early December, this was Jabril's bedroom.
He could very well walk out the door. He just doesn't have any awareness of like dangers.
You couldn't even use a typical child's bed for him.
He'll fall out. Yeah.
And where do you sleep?
Right next to him.
And where does the baby sleep?
Often in the middle.
Because of his lapse in coverage, it took more than a year for Jabril to finally get the special bed.
Our focus has been on
Dan Tsai is the Biden administration's Medicaid director.
Why isn't more being done in those kinds of situations?
So first, I just want to say those, and I would say to the parents and the families and the people that you've spoken with, those are really difficult stories to hear. No parent, no family should have to go through that.
Uh-huh. Hold on. Say it again, buddy.
In coverage, it took more than a year for Jabril to finally get the special bed.
Our focus has been on
Dan Tsai is the Biden administration's Medicaid director.
Why isn't more?
The Medicaid director. What's being done? Oh, that's right. Nothing's being done. Biden said nothing would fundamentally change. And more people are struggling. And these are just kids here, man. All right, this is just one story. There's millions of others.
Being done in those kinds of situations.
So first, I just want to say those, and I would say to the parents and the families and the people that you've spoken with, those are really difficult stories to hear. No parent, no family should have to go through that.
Medicaid, which serves low-income and disabled Americans, is funded by the federal and state governments. But each state runs its program differently, leading to drastically different unwinding outcomes.
Every single time we found any violation of federal rules, we have stepped in.
However, Tsai says states have discretion over things like call center staffing.
The laws need to change to give you more teeth to be able to pressure states to fix this faster?
I think at the end of the day, it should not be this complicated.
Then do something about it. Do something about it. See, because Bernie Sanders can go up here and give us this great little wish list. Sanders also sent the list in an email to supporters on December 27th with the introduction. Here's a New Year's resolution, and tweeted out the first 6 proposals. All of this sounds great on paper, but what are you going to do about it? Because this is right now happening under the Biden-Harris administration, going under the Trump administration. Everyone's going to be talking about fighting Trump, resisting Trump, and I'm already preparing myself for the potential scenario, and I don't think it's going to happen because it'll be beyond stupid. Like, anyone that's going to advocate for it is fully brain dead. They're going to be talking about maybe potentially, oh, we got to impeach Trump this time. Oh, my God. Breathe in, breathe out. But I see people being that stupid. The Vermont senator's renewed call for Medicare for all comes as the assassination of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, where's Luigi, last month, and high explosive anti-insurance industry dark humor it sparked has highlighted persistent flaws in the country's private health insurance system. In the aftermath of the killing, the online response, Sanders called for a political movement to reform the nation's healthcare system. Well, gee, Bernie, where are you at?
For individuals across the country to go through the Medicaid renewal process.
Now, some advocates are concerned about what a second Trump administration might bring. The last time he was in office, the president-elect repeatedly tried to scale back Medicaid, though he recently told NBC's Kristen Welker he would not cut entitlement programs.
Okay, off the table.
I won't do it.
Meanwhile, unwinding's impact may take years to play out.
We have huge problems with chronic illness in adults that are costing the system a lot of money. Cutting care for kids, the preventative care that they need to grow into healthy adults, is just about the worst way to make that problem better.
Jabril still has not resumed speech therapy.
But he has the insurance back now.
Yeah, well, now there's a wait list.
Snuggle up.
A reminder that even short gaps in healthcare can have long-lasting effects. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News, Washington.
Richest country in the world, and I wonder why people are so upset at our political system. I wonder why people just really didn't give a damn about any of these health insurance industries, and why, again, we have to look at the fact that these are kids, okay? Can you imagine being a parent and you have a child that's either very sick or special needs, and the insurance company just says no, then you got to pay out of pocket? I mean, the leading cause of homelessness is, again, medical bankruptcy, people going into debt. Now, Bernie Sanders, oh, he's being a firebrand again. He's talking about why we need Medicare for all. And I'm seeing so many people saying he's back. It's just don't put all your eggs in one basket for somebody like Bernie. That's never a smart thing to do. It's got to be done through citizen ballot initiatives for real change, fighting for Medicare for all at the state level, building movements and organizations not connected to DC. And all this inaction during these 4 years. You know, there was a thing called Force to Vote. There was a thing called March for Medicare for All. You know something? Our politicians weren't part of it. And it should tell you what their priority is. But don't forget, they have gold-plated health care.